The morning started like any other day in Seoul. People rushed to work, students hurried to school, and the city hummed with its usual energy. Commander Dae Kim sat in his office at the International Space Defense Coalition headquarters, reviewing reports and drinking his third cup of coffee. He was a tall man with gray hair at his temples, and he had spent 20 years protecting Earth from threats that mostly never came. At exactly 9:37, every screen in the building went dark. Then, they all turned bright red. "Commander!" A young officer burst through the door. "We have multiple contacts appearing in high orbit. They just appeared out of nowhere." Day dropped his coffee cup and ran to the command center. The room was chaos. People shouted into phones, typed frantically on keyboards, and stared at screens showing dozens of massive objects hanging in space above Earth. The objects were ships, alien ships. Dr. Hannah Park was already there, her eyes wide behind her glasses. She was the smartest person Day had ever met, a physicist who understood things about space and gravity that made his head hurt. Right now, she looked terrified. "How many?" Day asked. 43 ships, Hannah said quietly. "The smallest one is 3 kilometers long." Day felt his stomach drop. Humanity had dreamed of meeting aliens for centuries. They had imagined peaceful meetings, shared knowledge, and friendship among the stars. This was not that dream. "Are they trying to communicate?" he asked. "Yes, sir." Yuna Lee, the communications specialist, turned from her station. She was young, barely 30, but she spoke 17 languages and could decode almost anything. "They're broadcasting on every frequency. The message is simple." A voice filled the command center. It was deep and strange, like metal scraping on stone. The words were in perfect English, though the accent was wrong in ways Day could not describe. "People of Earth, you are surrounded. Your weapons are useless. Your resistance is meaningless. You have one choice: surrender now, or be destroyed. You have 48 hours to decide." The message repeated. Then the screens went dark again. The room fell silent. Someone was crying. Day forced himself to take a breath. Then, another. He had trained for this moment, though he never believed it would come. "Get me the president," he said. "Get me every world leader. We need a global response team, assembled in 1 hour." He turned to Hannah. "I need everything you can tell me about those ships." "I'm already on it," she said, her fingers flying across her keyboard. Within 30 minutes, Captain Tae Choi arrived at headquarters. He was the best pilot Earth had, a man who flew like he was born in the sky. His fighter squadron had won every competition for the last 5 years. He saluted Day sharply. "I heard," Tae said. "My squadron is ready. Just give the word." "Stand by," Day said. "We need to know what we're facing first." Over the next few hours, reports came in from around the world. The alien ships had positioned themselves in a perfect grid above Earth, covering every continent. They stayed exactly 420 kilometers up, just above where the International Space Station orbited. They did not move. They did not fire weapons. They just waited. Hannah worked without stopping, analyzing every piece of data they could gather. Satellites took pictures. Radio telescopes listened. Ground-based lasers measured distances. Slowly, a picture formed. "They're using some kind of energy shield," Hannah explained to the emergency council that evening. World leaders watched from screens around the room. "Our radar bounces right off, but we can see them with optical telescopes. The ships are huge and angular, like pyramids made of dark metal. There are weapons ports all over the hull." "Can we fight them?" the Chinese premier asked. "Unknown," Day said honestly. "We've never faced weapons like this, but we have to assume they're more advanced than us. They crossed the stars to get here. We've barely made it to Mars." "And then what do we do?" the American president asked. "Surrender? Never. Day said. The word came out harder than he meant it. We find their weakness. Every enemy has one. The council argued for hours. Some wanted to negotiate. Others wanted to attack immediately. Some wanted to evacuate cities and hide. Day listened to all of them. But his mind was elsewhere. He kept thinking about those ships hanging in space. Perfectly still. Perfectly positioned. Why did they stay so high? Late that night, after most people had gone home to be with their families, Day found Hana still working in her lab. She had charts and numbers, covering 3 screens. You should rest, he told her. Can't, she said without looking away from her work. There's something wrong here. Something that doesn't make sense. What? They're staying too high, Hana said. She pulled up a satellite image showing all 43 ships. Look, every single ship is at 400 to 450 kilometers altitude. Not higher. Not lower. That's a very specific range. Maybe it's tactical, Day suggested. Good position for orbital bombardment. Maybe, Hana said, but she sounded doubtful. But if they wanted to attack, they could do it from any altitude. And if they wanted to invade with troops, they'd need to come lower. Much lower. But they're not. They're just sitting there. Like they're afraid to come closer, Day said slowly. Hana looked at him, and something sparked in her eyes. Yes. Exactly like that. Before they could discuss it further, alarms blared throughout the building. Yuna was already there, her face pale. They're sending another message, she said. The same terrible voice filled the room. Your time is running out. We are the Voth Empire. We have conquered 47 worlds. Your planet will be the 48th. Surrender, or your cities will burn. This is your only warning. The message ended. Then, as if to prove their point, one of the alien ships fired a single beam of red light down at the ocean. The beam hit the water and instantly created an explosion of steam visible from space. When the steam cleared, there was a crater in the ocean floor. That was a warning shot, Hana whispered. Next time, it'll be a city. Day watched the replay of the explosion. The alien ships had the power to destroy humanity. That much was clear. But something in his gut told him Hana was right. There was something strange about how they positioned themselves. Something that might be important. We have 46 hours left, he said to the room. I want every scientist, every military analyst, and every person with a brain working on this. Find me something we can use. Find me how to hurt these things. Captain Tay stepped forward. And if we can't find a weakness? Day looked at the young pilot, then at Hana, then at Yuna, and finally at all the people working desperately around the command center. These were Earth's defenders. Humanity's last hope. Then we fight anyway, Day said. And we make them remember that they should have stayed away from Earth. Outside, the alien ships waited in the darkness of space. Confident and patient. They had destroyed civilizations before. Earth would be no different. Or so they thought. Yuna Lee had not slept in 30 hours. Her eyes burned as she stared at her computer screen, trying to decode the alien language. The Voth had broadcast their threats in human languages, but their own communications with each other were different. Strange sounds. Complex patterns. If she could understand them, maybe Earth would have a chance. Around the world, cities emptied. Millions of people fled to the countryside, to mountains, to anywhere they thought might be safe from alien weapons. Roads jammed with cars, trains overflowed with passengers. The news showed pictures of families huddled together, praying, crying, saying goodbye to each other. Commander Day had not slept either. He stood in the command center, coordinating with military forces from every nation. They had missiles ready to launch, fighter jets in the air, ships at sea. Every weapon humanity possessed was aimed at the sky. But Day knew it probably would not be enough. 36 hours left, someone announced. Dr. Hana Park walked into the command center holding a tablet. She looked exhausted but excited. "I need to show you something," she said today. She pulled up video footage from satellites. "I've been watching the alien ships constantly. In 36 hours, not one of them has moved lower than 400 kilometers. Not even a little bit. Even when they fired that warning shot, the ship stayed at the same altitude." "So?" Captain Tay asked. He had been planning attack runs with his squadron, though everyone knew their small fighters could not reach that high. "So it's strange," Hana insisted. "If you're trying to invade a planet, you need to get close. You need to land troops, survey targets, show your strength. But they're staying far away." "Why? Maybe they don't need to get close," Day said. "Their weapons have long range." "Maybe," Hana said. "Or maybe they can't get close. Maybe there's a reason they're keeping their distance." Before anyone could respond, Yuna suddenly shouted from her station, "Commander! They're hailing us directly. They want to talk." Everyone turned to look at the main screen. It flickered, and then showed an alien face. The creature was terrifying. Its head was too long, with 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. The skin was gray and smooth, like stone. When it spoke, rows of sharp teeth showed. "I am Overlord Thex, commander of the Voth fleet," the alien said. "I will speak to whoever leads your world." Day stepped forward. "There is no single leader. I represent Earth's defense forces. I'm Commander Day Kim." Thex made a sound that might have been laughter. "Defense forces. How amusing. You cannot defend against us. We have destroyed species far more advanced than yours." "Then why haven't you attacked yet?" Day asked. "You gave us 48 hours. Why wait?" Why? Why? "We are not monsters," Thex said. "We give our prey a chance to surrender. Most do, those who resist. Well, you saw what one shot did to your ocean. Imagine that happening to your cities. Your people burning, your children screaming." Day felt rage boil in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "What do you want from Earth?" "Everything," Thex said simply. "Your water, your minerals, your land. We will take it all, and your species will serve us. That is the only option. There's always another option." Day said. "Yes." Thex agreed. "Death. Choose quickly, Commander. My patience has limits." "Death?" The screen went dark. The command center erupted in angry voices. People cursed and shouted. "We're not surrendering," he said loudly. "And we're not dying without a fight. Hannah, keep working on your theory. Tay, prepare your squadron for combat operations. Yuna, keep monitoring their communications. Everyone else, stay sharp. We're going to find a way." 24 hours passed. The deadline grew closer. Tensions rose. Several smaller countries announced they would surrender to the Voth individually, hoping for mercy. It did not matter. Thex announced that Earth would be judged as one planet. Either everyone surrendered, or everyone burned. Hana barely left her computer. She analyzed every scan, every photograph, every piece of data about the Voth ships. The answer was there somewhere. She could feel it. The aliens were hiding something. Captain Tay ran his pilots through drill after drill. They practiced high-altitude intercepts, even though their fighters could not reach the alien ships. They practiced evasion maneuvers. They practiced everything. Because when the shooting started, they would be humanity's first line of defense. With 12 hours remaining, Day made a decision. "We need to capture one of their ships," he announced. "Or at least damage one enough to study it. We're fighting blind. We need information." "That's suicide," one of his officers protested. "Our weapons barely scratch them. We have electromagnetic pulse weapons," Hana said suddenly. "Experimental ones. We've never tested them in combat, but in theory, they could disrupt alien electronics." If we could get close enough to a smaller ship, Tay stepped forward. My squadron can do it. If you give us those EMP weapons, we'll get you an alien ship. Day looked at the young pilot. Tay's eyes were steady, determined. He knew it was dangerous. He was volunteering anyway. Do it, Day ordered. You have 6 hours. Scientists worked frantically to mount the EMP weapons on Tay's fighters. The devices were bulky and experimental. They might not even work. But it was the best chance they had. 4 hours before the deadline, Tay and his squadron launched. 6 fighters climbed into the morning sky, pushing their engines to the limit. They headed for a smaller Voth ship that orbited over the Pacific Ocean. In the command center, everyone watched the video feed from Tay's helmet camera. The fighter shook as it climbed higher and higher. The sky turned from blue to black. Earth curved below them, beautiful and fragile. Target in range, Tay announced. Beginning attack run. The Voth ship hung in space above them like a dark mountain. Up close, it was even more terrifying. Weapons ports covered its surface. Strange symbols glowed along its hull. It was death itself. Waiting. Fire! Tay shouted. All 6 fighters fired their EMP weapons simultaneously. Blue lightning leaped from the devices and struck the alien ship. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the ship's lights flickered. The glow from its engines dimmed. It's working! One of the pilots yelled, but the other Voth ships responded immediately. Red beams lanced through space. One of Tay's squadron exploded instantly. Another spun out of control. Its wing sheared off. Brake! Brake! Tay commanded. Get out of here! The damaged Voth ship began to fall. Slowly at first, then faster. Its engines were failing. The electromagnetic pulse had worked, but now the ship was dropping out of orbit. It's heading for the mountains, Hana said, tracking the falling ship. Gangwon Province. Rural area. Low population. Day immediately got on the radio. Evacuate everyone within 50 kilometers of the crash site. Move now. The alien ship fell through the atmosphere, burning as it descended. It lit up the sky like a second sun. People all over Asia stopped and stared. Some cheered. Some prayed. Everyone wondered if this meant humanity had a chance. The ship crashed into a mountain with tremendous force. The explosion could be seen from Seoul. Trees for kilometers around the impact site burst into flames. The ground shook like an earthquake. Tay and his 3 surviving pilots landed safely. They had lost 2 good people, but they had brought down an alien ship. It was the first victory humanity had won. Send recovery teams immediately, Day ordered. I want that ship examined before the deadline. Move. Helicopters carried scientists and soldiers to the crash site. Hana insisted on going with them despite the danger. When they arrived, the alien ship was a broken wreck, half buried in the mountainside. Parts of it still glowed red-hot. They found the pilot inside. The alien was dead, but not from the crash. Hana examined the body carefully, while soldiers stood guard with their weapons ready. The creature was thin and delicate, its bones bird-like and hollow. Its exoskeleton suit was smashed, leaking strange fluids. Look at this, Hana said, her hands shaking as she took measurements. Its internal organs are ruptured. Massive trauma. But the crash wasn't that violent. The ship had emergency systems that absorbed most of the impact. Then what killed it? One of the soldiers asked. Hana looked up, and her eyes were wide with realization. Gravity, she whispered. Earth's gravity killed it. Its body couldn't handle the weight. When the exoskeleton suit failed, the gravity crushed it. She pulled out her tablet and began calculating frantically. The Voth must come from a low-gravity world, much lower than Earth. That's why they stay in high orbit. That's why they've never come closer. They can't. Our gravity would kill them. Day's radio crackled. Commander, we're receiving another transmission from Overlord Thex. Put him through, Day said. Thex's face appeared on Hana's tablet screen. The alien looked furious. You attacked us. You destroyed one of my ships. For this, there will be no more mercy. Your time is up. Prepare to die. Wait, Day said quickly. We know your secret. For the first time, Thex hesitated. His 4 eyes narrowed. What secret? What secret? Day smiled. It was not a kind smile. Come down here and find out. The emergency council meeting started within an hour. World leaders appeared on screens around the command center, their faces showing a mixture of hope and disbelief. Dr. Hannah Park stood at the front of the room, exhausted but excited. Next to her was a holographic display showing the dead Voth pilot's body scan. Ladies and gentlemen, Hannah began. We have discovered why the Voth Empire stays in high orbit. They physically cannot come closer. Earth's gravity is lethal to them. She pulled up her data. Charts and numbers filled the screens. The Voth evolved on a planet with only 0.4 Earth gravity. Less than half what we experience every day. Their bones are hollow and light. Their muscles are weak by our standards. Their internal organs cannot support their own weight in our gravity field. Muscle, how certain are you? The Russian premier asked. Completely certain, Hannah said firmly. I've examined the pilot's body thoroughly. Every major organ shows crush damage. The exoskeleton suit kept the pilot alive. But when it failed, gravity killed him within seconds. Not minutes. Seconds. Commander Day stepped forward. This changes everything. The Voth aren't invincible. They have a critical weakness, and it's something we can exploit. How? The British Prime Minister asked. They're staying in orbit specifically because they know they can't come down. We still can't reach them up there. We make them come down, Day said. We force them into lower orbit, where their technology starts to fail under gravitational stress. Captain Tay, standing nearby with his arm in a sling from the battle, spoke up. With respect, sir, how do we force ships that size to do anything? They have all the power. Hannah smiled. Not all the power. They can't control gravity itself. But we might be able to. She changed the display to show Earth's massive particle accelerator facilities. These installations were built for physics research. But with modifications, we could turn them into gravitational field disruptors. Devices that create localized gravity wells. I don't understand, the Japanese Prime Minister said. Think of it like a giant magnet, Hannah explained, trying to keep it simple. But instead of pulling metal, it pulls mass. If we activate these devices under the Voth fleet, we can create artificial gravity fields that pull their ships down. Not all the way to the ground, but lower, into thicker atmosphere, into stronger natural gravity. And then what? Someone asked. Then their systems overload, Hannah said. Their gravity dampeners are designed for the vacuum of space. In thicker atmosphere, with stronger gravity, those systems will have to work much harder. Eventually, they'll fail. And when they fail, she didn't need to finish the sentence. The ships will fall, Day completed. Just like the one Captain Tay shot down. The council chamber fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. Finally, the American president spoke. How long would it take to build these devices? We don't need to build them, Hannah said. We modify existing equipment. With global cooperation and working around the clock, we could have the system ready in 18 hours. We don't have 18 hours, someone pointed out. The deadline already passed. They could attack any moment. Then we buy time, Day said. We make them think we're considering surrender. We negotiate. We stall. Whatever it takes to get those disruptors operational. Yuna Lee had been quiet, listening to everything. Now she spoke softly. There's a risk. If the Voth learn what we're planning, they could attack immediately. Or worse, they could call for reinforcements. The message said they conquered 47 worlds. They might have much larger fleets elsewhere. It's a risk we have to take, Day said. Because if we do nothing, we definitely lose. This is our chance. Maybe our only chance. The vote was unanimous. Every nation would contribute resources to building the gravitational disruptors. Scientists, engineers, and workers around the world would drop everything to make it happen. But first, they needed time. Day composed a message to Overlord Thex. His hands shook slightly as he typed. So much depended on this. Overlord Thex, the message read. Earth's governments are meeting to discuss your terms. We need more time to reach a consensus. We have 7 billion people and 200 nations. Decisions take time. We request a 24-hour extension. The reply came within minutes. Thex's face appeared on the screen, and he looked suspicious. You destroyed my ship. Why would I grant you more time? Why? Why would I grant you more time? Why? Why? Because if you attack now, we'll fight, Day said calmly. Billions will die on both sides. But if you give us time to discuss, maybe we can end this peacefully. You said you're not monsters. Prove it. What's 24 more hours after crossing the galaxy? Thex was silent for a long moment. His 4 eyes studied Day carefully. You're planning something, the alien finally said. We're planning to survive, Day replied. Isn't that what any species would do? 24 hours, Thex said. But if you're deceiving me, Commander, I will personally make sure your death is slow and painful. I will destroy every city on your planet, one by one, while you watch. The transmission ended. He suspects something, Captain Tay said quietly. I know, Day agreed. Which means we need to work fast. Hana, coordinate the modifications. I want constant updates. Tay, get your squadron ready. We'll need air support when this goes live. Yuna, monitor all Voth communications. If they start moving or preparing to attack, I need to know immediately. Everyone scattered to their tasks. The next 18 hours became a blur of frantic activity. At CERN in Switzerland, scientists worked to reconfigure the Large Hadron Collider. In Japan, engineers modified the Super Kamiokande facility. In America, the Fermilab accelerator was torn apart and rebuilt. All over the world, humanity's greatest minds worked together on the same goal. The modifications were crude and untested, but they might work. They had to work. Hana barely left the coordination center. She spoke with scientists in a dozen languages, solving problems in real time. When one team encountered a power distribution issue, she redesigned the circuit on the spot. When another team couldn't get the field generators to synchronize, she wrote new code in 30 minutes. She was brilliant. But she was also terrified. This plan had never been tested. The math worked in theory, but theory and reality were different things. If she had made one mistake, one miscalculation, billions of people would die because of her error. You're doing great, Day said, bringing her coffee at one point. The world is lucky to have you. Tell me that after we win, Hana said, but she smiled a little. Captain Tay gathered his pilots for a briefing. He had recruited volunteers from every nation's air force. Hundreds of fighters would participate in what they were calling Operation Gravity Well. Their job was to provoke the Voth, to make them angry enough to descend. It was dangerous, probably suicidal. Every pilot understood that. None of them backed down. We're bait, Tay told them honestly. We're going to make them chase us. Make them mad. Make them come down where we want them. Some of us won't come back, but if we succeed, Earth survives. That's the mission. The pilots saluted. They were ready. Yuna discovered something in the Voth communications that made her blood run cold. She ran to find Day immediately. Commander, she said breathlessly. I've been analyzing their transmissions. The Voth are talking about Earth to someone else. They're sending reports to other parts of their empire, bragging about their conquest. How many other ships do they have? Day asked. I don't know, Yuna admitted. But they mention the home fleet. Ships staying near their home world. From context, it sounds like it's much larger than what's here. Day absorbed this. It confirmed what they already feared. The 43 ships in orbit were just a small force. The Voth Empire was much bigger. Then we definitely can't surrender. Day said. Because even if we did, they'd come back for revenge someday. We end this now, or we're never free. 16 hours after the plan was approved, Hana stood in the main command center and took a deep breath. All facilities report ready, she announced. The gravitational disruptors are online and synchronized. We can activate them on your command. Day looked around the room. At Hana, exhausted, but determined. At Tay, injured but ready to fly. At Yuna, young, but steady. At all the people who had worked miracles in less than a day. Are we sure about this? He asked quietly. No, Hana admitted. But we're as sure as we can be. The science is sound. The modifications are complete. If we're going to do this, it has to be now, before they realize what we've built. Day nodded slowly. He had led people before, made hard decisions, sent soldiers into danger, but never like this. Never with the entire planet's survival hanging in the balance. He picked up the radio that would broadcast to every pilot, every soldier, every defensive position around the world. This is Commander Day Kim, he said. In a few minutes, we're going to strike back at the Voth Empire. We're going to show them that Earth doesn't kneel. We're going to show them that coming here was their biggest mistake. Now let's save our world. He switched to a direct channel to Overlord Thex. Attention, Voth Fleet. This is Earth's final answer. No surrender. No slavery. Just war. Come and get us. Thex's reply was immediate and furious. So be it. You've chosen death. My fleet will turn your planet into ash. Then come down here and do it yourself. Day challenged. Or are you afraid? It was a gamble. A desperate gamble. But they needed the Voth. Angry, emotional, ready to make a mistake. In orbit, Overlord Thex roared with rage. His crew flinched at the sound. All ships, he commanded. Descend to attack altitude. We will crush these insects ourselves. The Voth fleet began to move. 43 massive warships that had stayed perfectly still for 2 days started their descent toward Earth. In the command center, alarms blared as tracking systems followed every ship. They're coming down, Yuna reported, her voice tight with tension. Current altitude, 400 kilometers, and dropping. Speed, increasing. Commander Day stood in the center of the room, watching the displays. His heart pounded, but his hands were steady. Dr. Park? Are the disruptors ready? Hana nodded, her fingers poised over her keyboard. Ready, Commander. All facilities are synchronized and waiting for activation signal. But we need to wait until they're in optimal range. What altitude? Day asked. 150 kilometers or lower, Hana said. At that altitude, combined with the artificial gravity wells, we can pull them down to 80 kilometers. That's where their systems will start to fail. Captain Tay's voice came through the radio. All squadrons airborne and in position. We're ready to engage. Hold your fire, Day ordered. Let them come closer. We need them confident. Angry. Not thinking clearly. The Voth ships descended in perfect formation, their dark hulls catching the sunlight as they entered the upper atmosphere. People around the world watched the sky, some in their homes, others having fled to shelters. Everyone knew the battle had begun. Overlord Thex's face appeared on the main screen, transmitted from his flagship. Watch, Commander Kim. Watch as we destroy your primitive forces. This is what happens to species that defy the Voth Empire. The lead Voth ships opened fire. Red beams of energy lanced down from space, striking military bases around the world. In seconds, 3 Air Force bases were reduced to burning craters. Hundreds of people died instantly. Day closed his eyes briefly, feeling each loss like a physical blow. But he couldn't stop now. Altitude? He asked quietly. 300 kilometers, Yuna reported, still descending. More beams fired. A naval base in California vanished in a flash of light. A missile battery in Russia exploded. The Voth were systematically destroying Earth's defensive positions, and there was nothing anyone could do to stop them yet. 200 kilometers, Yuna said. Tay's fighters climbed toward the descending ships, firing missiles that exploded harmlessly against Voth shields. It looked like a futile gesture, like throwing stones at mountains. That was the point. Make the Voth angry. Make them want to get closer. You're like insects. Thex laughed over the transmission. Your weapons are toys. More ships descended. They were eager now, excited by the easy destruction. They had done this before, on other worlds. Humanity was no different. Just another primitive species to crush. 170 kilometers. Yuna called out. 160. 150. Now, Day shouted. Hana's fingers slammed down on her keyboard. Around the world, the modified particle accelerators activated simultaneously. Massive amounts of power surged through the systems. In Switzerland, Japan, America, Russia, and a dozen other locations, gravitational field disruptors came online. The effect was invisible but immediate. Artificial gravity wells formed in a grid pattern beneath the Voth fleet. The ships suddenly felt pull from below, as if Earth itself was reaching up to grab them. What? Thex's expression changed from confidence to confusion. What is this? Something's pulling us down. The Voth ships tried to climb back to higher orbit, but their engines struggled against the artificial gravity. Slowly, inevitably, they continued to descend. 140 kilometers. 130. 120. It's working, Hana shouted, watching her instruments. The gravitational fields are stable. They're pulling the fleet into the target zone. No, but the Voth ships were powerful. Their engines roared with increased output, fighting the pull. Some ships began to rise back up. Despite the artificial gravity, the disruptors weren't strong enough to hold them all. We need more power, Hana said urgently. We're losing some of them. How much more? Day asked. 50% increase. But the systems weren't designed for that. They might overload. Day didn't hesitate. Do it. Increase power now. Hana sent the commands. At every facility, power levels surged past safe limits. Warning alarms went off. Engineers watched their instruments climb into the red zone, but the gravitational fields intensified, and the Voth ships that had been escaping got pulled back down. Thex realized what was happening. It's a trap. They're using gravity against us. All ships, maximum power. The Voth engines burned brighter as they poured all available power into climbing. But they were already too deep in the gravity wells. Already too low. The artificial fields, combined with Earth's natural gravity, created a force their ships weren't designed to fight. 100 kilometers, Yuna reported. 95. 90. The Voth ships entered the mesosphere, where Earth's atmosphere became noticeably thicker. Their shields glowed from atmospheric friction. Systems that were designed for the vacuum of space began to strain under new pressures. 85 kilometers, Yuna said. 80. Inside the Voth ships, alarms blared. The gravity dampeners that kept the crews alive began to fail. Voth soldiers stumbled as they felt weight for the first time in their lives. On the bridge of the flagship, Overlord Thex grabbed his chair to keep from falling. Gravity dampeners at critical levels. A Voth officer reported, his voice panicked. We can't maintain life support at this altitude. Divert all power to engines, Thex commanded. Get us out of here now. But it was too late. Several of the smaller Voth ships couldn't fight the gravity any longer. Their engines failed, and they began to plummet. Tay's fighters scattered as the massive alien vessels fell past them, burning as they descended. Multiple enemy ships falling. Yuna reported with barely controlled excitement. I count 7. No. 11 ships going down. The ships crashed into oceans and mountains, creating explosions visible from space. Each impact sent shockwaves for kilometers. Where they hit water, they created tsunamis. Where they hit land, they caused earthquakes. Thex watched in horror as his fleet disintegrated around him. This is impossible. No species has ever used their own planet as a weapon. You should have stayed away, Day said coldly into the transmission. The remaining Voth ships fought desperately to escape. Their crews were dying now, crushed by gravity as the dampening systems failed. Thex himself felt his bones beginning to bend under the weight. Every breath was agony. All ships, emergency retreat. Thex gasped. Abandon the planet. Retreat. 15 more ships managed to climb, their engines glowing white-hot from the effort. But 21 ships could not escape. They fell from the sky like broken birds, crashing across the planet. The explosions lit up the dawn. Inside the falling ships, Voth crew members screamed as gravity crushed them. Their delicate bodies crumpled, their hollow bones shattered. The same gravity that humans walked through every day without thinking was killing them in seconds. One ship crashed just outside Seoul. The impact destroyed several empty buildings but missed the populated areas. Recovery teams rushed toward it immediately, but they found no survivors. Every alien inside had been killed by Earth's gravity before the crash even happened. The remaining ships are climbing, Yuna reported. They're breaking free of the gravity fields. Altitude, 120 kilometers, and rising. Should we increase power again? Hana asked. We might be able to pull more of them down. Day looked at the displays showing the destroyed and falling ships. 21 out of 43. Nearly half the Voth fleet destroyed or crippled. Earth's military had barely fired a shot. No, he said. Let them go. We've made our point. The surviving Voth ships climbed frantically, desperate to reach the safety of high orbit. But as they rose, human fighters pursued them. Tay led the attack, his squadron firing missiles at the fleeing ships. The missiles couldn't penetrate the shields, but they didn't need to. They just needed to force the Voth to use more power, to strain their already damaged systems. This is for our people, Tay shouted as he made another attack run. 2 more Voth ships, damaged and struggling, couldn't maintain altitude. They fell back into the atmosphere and crashed. Thex's flagship reached 400 kilometers, back to safe altitude. His ship was damaged, his crew decimated by the gravity exposure. All around him, officers lay dead or dying, their bodies broken by Earth's pull. He had brought 43 ships to conquer Earth. Only 20 remained, and most of those were damaged. Medical teams to all decks. Thex gasped into his communicator. His own body ached from the gravity exposure. Damage report. How many ships remain? The numbers came in. 20 ships survived. 23 were destroyed or crashed. Thousands of Voth soldiers dead. It was the worst defeat the Voth Empire had ever suffered. Thex stared at Earth turning below him, beautiful and deadly, the blue world that had seemed so easy to conquer. He had underestimated these humans. Badly. Commander Day's voice came through on the communication channel. Overlord Thex. Thex wanted to ignore him, but his pride forced him to answer. I hear you, he said, his voice weak with pain. Leave. Day said simply, take your remaining ships and leave our system. Tell your empire that Earth is not for conquest. Tell them what happened here. Make sure they understand. This isn't over, Thex said, trying to sound threatening. The Voth Empire will return. With more ships. Better prepared. Maybe. Day agreed. But you won't be leading them. And whoever comes next will know that Earth is dangerous. That we fight with everything we have, including our planet itself. Now go, before we pull you down again. Thex wanted to argue, wanted to threaten, wanted to regain some dignity. But he had none left. His fleet was broken. His soldiers were dead, and Earth's gravity waited below, patient and inevitable. Retreat, he ordered his remaining ships. Prepare for faster-than-light jump. The 20 surviving Voth ships gathered together in high orbit. Their engines charged, building power for the jump to light speed. It would take several minutes, and every second felt like an eternity to Thex. He kept expecting another attack, another trap. Finally, the engines reached full charge. With a flash of light, the Voth fleet vanished, jumping away from Earth at faster-than-light speed. The space above the planet was empty once more. In the command center, everyone stood silent for a moment. Then, someone started clapping. Others joined in. Within seconds, the entire room erupted in cheers and tears and hugs. They had done the impossible. They had beaten the alien invasion. Day allowed himself to smile. Just for a moment. Because he knew the truth. The Voth might return. Other aliens might come. Earth had announced its presence to the galaxy in the most violent way possible. Nothing would ever be the same. The celebrations lasted 3 days. Around the world, people poured into the streets, laughing and crying and holding each other. The alien threat was gone. Earth had survived. Flags waved from every building. Songs filled the air. For the first time in weeks, children played outside, without fear. But in the command center, Commander Day Kim did not celebrate. He stood at the window, looking at the city of Seoul below. The lights were beautiful, and the sound of happy voices drifted up from the streets. But Day's mind was already thinking about the future. Dr. Hannah Park found him there late on the 3rd night. She looked better now, having finally gotten some sleep. But her eyes still showed the exhaustion of someone who had saved the world. "You should be out there," she said, gesturing to the celebrating crowds below. "They're calling you a hero." "I'm not a hero," Day said quietly. "I just made the best choices I could with the information I had. You're the real hero. Your theory about gravity saved us all." Hannah smiled a little. "I had help." Yuna decoded their communications. "Captain Tay brought down the first ship so we could study it." Everyone played a part. "True," Day agreed. He was quiet for a moment, then said, "They'll come back. You know that, right? Maybe not the Voth, but someone. We proved Earth is dangerous, but we also proved we're worth fighting. Our water, our resources, our strategic location. Someone will try again." "I know," Hannah said. "I've been thinking about that too." The next morning, Day called an emergency meeting of Earth's leadership. World leaders appeared on screens once again, but this time, the mood was different. Hopeful, instead of desperate. "We won one battle," Day began without preamble. "But the war for Earth's independence has just started. The Voth will tell other species what happened here. Some might be scared away. Others might see us as a threat that needs to be eliminated. We need to prepare." "Prepare how?" the French president asked. "We used everything we had just to drive off one small fleet. We learned from them," Day said. He gestured, and images of crashed Voth ships appeared on the screens. 23 alien ships crashed on Earth. Their technology is decades or maybe centuries ahead of ours. We study every piece. We reverse engineer their engines, their weapons, their shields. We become stronger. Thanks for watching. We become stronger. We came to this live. We came to the 7. Dr. Hannah stepped forward. "I've already started examining the wreckage. The Voth use a type of fusion reactor we've only theorized about. Their hull materials are incredibly strong and light. Their faster-than-light drives are beyond our current physics understanding. But with time and resources, we can figure it out. We can build our own ships. Understand. How long would that take? The Chinese premier asked. Years, Hana admitted. Maybe a decade for the first functional human starship. But we have to start now. The council agreed. A new organization was created, United Earth Space Command. Its mission was to defend the planet and prepare humanity for life among the stars. Commander Day was appointed as its first leader. Captain Tay became the head of Earth's Space Defense Force. He recruited pilots from every nation and began training them for combat in space. They studied the tactics used against the Voth and developed new strategies. The best engineers designed new fighters that could operate in orbit. Yuna Lee created Earth's Interstellar Communications Division. Her job was to monitor space for any signals, alien or otherwise. She also began developing protocols for first contact, in case friendly aliens existed somewhere. Earth needed friends, not just weapons. Weeks turned into months. Recovery teams carefully excavated the crashed Voth ships. Every piece of alien technology was cataloged, studied, and slowly understood. Scientists around the world worked together, sharing information freely. National borders mattered less now. Earth was united in a way it had never been before. Hana made breakthrough after breakthrough. She figured out how the Voth fusion reactors worked and designed a human version. She decoded the principles behind their faster-than-light drives, though building one would take years more work. She even improved the gravity disruptors, making them portable and more powerful. 6 months after the invasion, something unexpected happened. Yuna's communications team detected a signal from deep space. It wasn't the Voth. It was something else. Day, Hana, and Tay gathered in the command center as Yuna played the decoded message. A new alien face appeared on screen. This one looked almost plant-like, with green skin and soft features. When it spoke, the voice was gentle. "Greetings to the people of Earth," the alien said. "We are the Verdani Collective. We have heard what you did to the Voth Empire. You accomplished something many species thought impossible. You defeated them using your own planet's natural forces. We wish to open diplomatic relations with you. We believe humanity would be a valuable member of the Free Worlds Alliance." Day and Hana exchanged glances. "Is this a trick?" Tay asked. "I don't think so," Yuna said. "The transmission is coming from a ship at the edge of our solar system. They're not approaching. They're waiting for permission. That's respectful. We should be careful," Hana warned. "We don't know anything about them. But we need allies," Day said. "If we stay isolated, we're vulnerable. Let's talk to them, carefully." The negotiations took weeks. The Verdani were patient and understanding. They explained that the galaxy was divided between empires like the Voth, who conquered weaker species, and free worlds like themselves, who valued independence and cooperation. Earth's victory had impressed many free worlds. They wanted humanity to join them. "Why should we trust you?" Day asked during one of the video conferences with the Verdani ambassador. "You shouldn't," the ambassador admitted honestly. "Not yet. Trust must be earned. But consider this. You are alone now. The Voth will return eventually, or someone worse will come. But if you join the free worlds, you'll have friends. Species who will trade with you, share technology, and come to your aid if you're attacked. Isn't that worth the risk?" After long debate, Earth agreed to open relations with the Verdani. It was decided that when humanity built its first starship, it would visit the Verdani home world. Until then, they would exchange information and build trust slowly. 1 year after the invasion, Earth launched its first defensive satellite network. The satellites were armed with weapons based on Voth technology and powered by human-made fusion reactors. They could target any ship approaching Earth from any direction. If aliens came again, they would face a much stronger defense. Captain Tay trained 500 new pilots in that first year. They flew spacecraft that could operate in orbit, armed with missiles and energy weapons. Earth finally had a real space force. Yuna's division established contact with 3 more alien species. All of them were friendly, curious about the humans who had weaponized gravity. Trade negotiations began. Earth offered water and minerals. In return, they received technology and knowledge. Dr. Hana led the construction of Earth's first starship. It was much smaller than the Voth warships, only 200 meters long, but it could travel faster than light. It had shields and weapons, and most importantly, it was completely built by human hands, using human understanding. The day the ship launched, a crowd of millions gathered to watch. The vessel rose slowly from its construction platform, its engines glowing blue. It looked beautiful and powerful, a symbol of everything humanity had become. Day stood with Hana, Tae, and Yuna, watching the ship climb toward space. "Any suggestions?" Hana asked. Day thought about everything they had been through. The fear, the determination, the sacrifice. He thought about all the people who had died fighting the Voth. He thought about the planet itself, whose gravity had been their greatest weapon. "The gravity's hope," he said, "because gravity almost destroyed us, but it also saved us. And because hope is what got us through." Everyone agreed. The ship was christened Gravity's Hope, and it became the flagship of Earth's growing fleet. 2 years after the invasion, Gravity's Hope made its first faster-than-light jump to the Verdani homeworld. The crew included volunteers from every nation. They carried greetings from Earth and samples of human culture. Music, art, literature, and science. The Verdani welcomed them warmly. They threw a celebration that lasted a week. Other species came to meet the humans, the ones who had turned their planet into a weapon. Some were friendly, others were cautious. All of them were interested. Commander Day stayed on Earth, running the Space Command. But he sent regular reports to the crew of Gravity's Hope. He was building more ships, training more soldiers, making sure Earth would never be vulnerable again. One day, Hannah found him in his office, reviewing construction plans for the 3rd starship. "You never stop working, do you?" she said. "Can't afford to," Day replied. "Every day we're not preparing is a day our enemies are getting stronger." "You really think the Voth will come back?" "I know they will," Day said. "Overlord Thex promised as much. But when they come, we'll be ready. We'll be stronger. And we won't be alone." Hana sat down across from him. "Do you ever regret it? The way things turned out? We're a military power now instead of a peaceful civilization." Day considered the question carefully. "I regret that we had to become this," he said slowly. "I wish the galaxy was different. I wish first contact had been with friends instead of conquerors. But the galaxy is what it is. We adapt, or we die. I chose life." "So did I," Hana agreed. "So did all of us." 5 years after the invasion, Earth had a fleet of 20 starships. Small, compared to the great empires, but growing. The planet was protected by satellites, space stations, and thousands of trained soldiers. Human scientists had mastered Voth technology, and even improved on it in some ways. The Free Worlds Alliance formally invited Earth to join. After much debate and a global vote, humanity accepted. Earth became the 43rd member of the alliance, an equal partner with species from across the galaxy. Trade flourished. Human art and music became popular on alien worlds. In return, alien philosophy and science enriched human culture. Children grew up learning about other species. The idea of being alone in the universe seemed like a distant memory, but Earth never forgot the lessons of the invasion. Military training remained mandatory. Ships were always ready. The gravity disruptors were maintained and upgraded. Earth would be a force for peace in the galaxy, but it would never be weak again. Commander Day retired after 10 years, passing leadership to a younger generation. He had earned his rest. Captain Tay took over Space Command, and Yuna became Earth's ambassador to the free worlds. Dr. Hana continued her research, always pushing the boundaries of human knowledge. On the 10-year anniversary of the invasion, a memorial was built in Seoul. It listed the names of everyone who had died fighting the Voth. Thousands of names, carved in stone. Above them, a simple phrase: "They stood against the darkness, and Earth remembers." Day attended the dedication ceremony. He was older now, his hair completely gray, but he stood straight and proud as he laid a wreath at the memorial. The crowd was silent, remembering. Later, Hana found him standing alone at the memorial, looking at the names. "Are you okay?" she asked. "I'm fine," Day said. Just remembering, thinking about how different everything could have been. If you hadn't figured out their weakness, if Tay hadn't captured that first ship, if any of us had given up. But we didn't give up, Hana said firmly. That's what makes us human. We adapt. We fight. We survive. The Voth learned that the hard way. Do you think they've told other species? Day asked. About Earth? About gravity? Oh, definitely, Hana said with a slight smile. I imagine the story has spread across the galaxy by now. The planet where gravity is a weapon. The species that turned their home into a fortress. Some probably think it's a myth. Good, Day said. Let them think that. Let them be surprised if they try to invade. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the sun set over Seoul. The city lights began to glow. Somewhere above, human ships patrolled the edges of the solar system. Earth was safe, protected, ready. In deep space, far from Earth, Overlord Thex sat alone in a dark room. He was old now, broken by his defeat. The Voth Empire had stripped him of rank and exiled him to a forgotten station. His name was synonymous with failure, but he remembered Earth. Oh, how he remembered. The blue planet that had crushed his fleet. The gravity that had killed his soldiers. The humans who had refused to kneel. Sometimes he still had nightmares about falling, about feeling his bones bend and break as weight crushed down on him, about dying slowly as Earth's gravity squeezed the life from his body. He would never go back to Earth. None of the Voth would. The planet was forbidden, marked as too dangerous to approach. Other species heard the stories and stayed away too. Earth gained a reputation across the galaxy, the gravity world, where the inhabitants were strong enough to withstand forces that would kill most species. It wasn't entirely accurate. Humans didn't think of their gravity as special. It was just normal to them. But to aliens who evolved in lower gravity, Earth was a death world, a place where the very ground would crush you. And so Earth was left alone, not out of respect, but out of fear, which suited humanity just fine. 50 years after the invasion, a new generation of humans grew up who had never known the fear of alien attack. They traveled the stars freely, trading and exploring. Some became famous throughout the galaxy. Human pilots were sought after because their reflexes were honed by Earth's gravity. Human engineers were valued because they could build things to withstand enormous forces. Earth itself became a tourist destination for brave aliens who wanted to experience the legendary gravity world. Special facilities were built where visitors could safely experience Earth's gravity while protected by advanced technology. It became a rite of passage for some species to visit Earth and walk on its surface, even if only for a few minutes. The Voth Empire eventually collapsed under its own corruption. The Free Worlds Alliance grew stronger, and Earth stood at the center of it all. Not as conquerors, but as defenders. The planet whose gravity had saved it became a symbol of hope, proof that even the smallest species could stand against the darkness and win. Commander Day passed away peacefully at age 93, surrounded by friends and family. His funeral was attended by representatives from 40 different species. They all came to honor the man who had saved Earth and changed the galaxy. At his grave, Dr. Hana spoke the final words. She was old now, too. but her mind was still sharp. Day taught us that strength isn't just about weapons or technology, she said. It's about will. Determination. The refusal to give up, even when everything seems hopeless. He taught us to use everything we have, even gravity itself, to protect what we love. Earth remembers him. The galaxy remembers him. And we will never forget what he taught us. As the sun set that day, Earth's satellites passed overhead, silent guardians watching the darkness. Ships patrolled the system borders. Soldiers trained for battles that might never come. And gravity, Earth's oldest and most faithful defender, pulled everything toward the ground with patient, relentless force. The invasion was over. The war was won. But Earth remained vigilant, because in the vast darkness between the stars, new threats always waited. And humanity was ready, always ready, because they had learned the most important lesson of all. That home was worth fighting for, with everything you had, including the ground beneath your feet.